It was near midnight on Halloween night in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Houses dressed in spider webs, pumpkins glowing orange, music bobbing from backyards. The air smelled of smoky fire pits and candy wrappers. At a rented house on the edge of town, dozens of teens gathered for what was meant to be a carefree celebration. Laughter echoed off walls, costumes scattered. One group outside smoked near the curb under string lights. Inside, someone was spinning tracks. Someone else passed a bottle. Nobody was expecting what came next. Suddenly, shouts. A fight erupted inside the house. Loud voices. Someone shoved. Someone pushed. The front door slammed open. A cascade of minors flooded into the street. And then, 5 gas hammer detonations. Bang, 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 and the crowd froze, then scattered. A 17-year-old boy slumped into the driver's seat of a car, blood spotting his shirt. A 17-year-old girl fell on the pavement a few yards away, crimson spreading under her costume. Neighbors ran for shelter. Police sirens wailed. Phones lit up simultaneously, videos flooding social media, screams in the dark. The responding officers from the West Valley City Police Department arrived to a chaotic scene. According to their report, multiple individuals had opened fire after a fight spilled from the house interior into the street. Kessel shell casings littered the sidewalk. One victim was declared dead at the scene. The other later died of her injuries. The fight, they would learn, started almost innocuously: a bumped shoulder, a shouted insult, someone accusing someone else of snaking their costume idea. Enter the investigators. Detective Mara Lewis had seen too many juvenile parties go wrong. Invitations on social media, strangers showing up, fights igniting like dry tinder. But this one felt different. The victims' families described 2 teenagers with golden futures. The boy, quiet and smiling, a high school athlete with dreams of being a barber. The girl, stylish and ambitious, planning to study graphic design. Kessel now both gone, and no clear suspect in custody. Key players emerged. The homeowner who rented out the house unlicensed, perhaps, the party's organizer who posted the event link on Snapchat, dozens of attendees who fled into the night leaving still burning fire pits, shoes, phones behind. Neighbors spoke of hearing 3 pops, then screaming. One said, "There were so many kids, running all over the place, running over each other trying to get to safety." https://www.atlantanewsfirst.com, and one of the first calls to 911, shots fired. Teens down, we don't know who. Multiple victims. What made the investigation plunge into deeper darkness? The arrival of the crash. The victim's vehicle, carrying the wounded, crashed near a hospital. The boy was dead before arrival. The girl clung to life for hours. Key's 1. The same gunfire scene produced a vehicle wreck. Investigators found bullets in the car's windshield. Outside, shell casings lined the street like grim breadcrumbs. But here's the twist that shattered everything. The suspect list looked like the usual late teens, hostile rivals, revenge motivations. But forensic evidence revealed something impossible. One of the fired rounds came from a gun traced to a juvenile. A juvenile who, when questioned, claimed he was only acting in self-defense. Yet he was an 8-year-old. At first, the lab report was believed to be an error. How could an 8-year-old handle a firearm during a chaotic party? It made no logical sense. But as Detective Lewis dug in, witness statements began to align. One teenager, hiding behind a car, described a small figure barely taller than the curb sprinting through the chaos, firing the weapon, then vanishing into the woods behind the house. The detective was certain she'd misheard, misseen, until surveillance from a neighbor's doorbell camera captured a brief blur, a tiny hoodie-clad figure running with a pistol in hand, just after the shots rang. Investigators got the footage. The image was grainy, low-lit, but it matched descriptions of a child. Now the motive. Inside the house, the 8-year-old child had been present, brought by a parent under supervision, they said. The young kid wandered off, found a gun in an unattended bag near the fire pit, and when the fight began, pulled it. At least that's the hypothesis. The kid had attempted to fire at one group, but missed. 2 shots struck others. The circumstances, Likely fear, panic, desire to escape being caught with the gun. Perhaps retribution for teasing. The idea a child could open fire in such fora sent shockwaves through the community. Detectives interviewed the parent. He said he thought the child was upstairs, asleep. He didn't know about the gun. They found a semi-automatic pistol inside the bag. Registration lapsed, ammunition tray empty. The bag was one of several tossed into the fire pit zone. No fingerprints conclusively matched the kid yet, but the camera, shell casings, witness testimony all pointed to a smaller shooter. As night faded to dawn, residents gathered at makeshift memorials. Family members of the victims hugged each other in shock. The party organizer, questioned by police, admitted he lost count of who came in. Invitations were digital. The house was overwhelmed. The homeowner fled town. The suspect, the 8-year-old, now a pivotal figure, but juvenile protection laws applied. Media blackout in many jurisdictions. No arrest yet publicly announced for the child. And then the investigator found it. A stained receipt in the lining of the gun bag from a store just blocks away, time-stamped just hours before the party. It changed everything. The gun hadn't been owned for long. Someone bought it late that afternoon. The receipt traced to the child's older sibling. The sibling's phone pinged near the party site at the time of the shooting. That older sibling had been seen arguing earlier with the 17-year-old boy victim over social media posts. Now, the motive shifted. Not just chaos, but revenge. The 8-year-old may have been the instrument. The next morning, the crime scene still looked like a Halloween nightmare. Police tape fluttering under cloudy skies, candy and fake blood mixed with real blood in the gutter, and the echo of last night's screams still trapped in the air. Neighbors stood at their windows, watching silently as detectives carried boxes of evidence into unmarked cars. The street that once hosted laughter was now an open wound. Detective Mara Lewis hadn't slept. Her eyes burned from hours of reviewing body cam footage and social media clips. But she couldn't shake the image of that doorbell video, a child-sized figure clutching a pistol, running through the dark. And now, with that receipt linking the gun purchase to the older brother, 16-year-old Liam Holt, the story was taking a darker shape than anyone had expected. When police obtained a warrant to search the Holt home, they expected a few juvenile antics, maybe stolen liquor, maybe drugs. What they found instead was something out of a twisted family drama. In Liam's room, a drawer filled with printed screenshots of online taunts, photos of him at school, meme edits, comments mocking his appearance, his stutter, his failed attempts to join the basketball team. And in the center of the pile was one printed post, a photo of the Halloween party's male victim posing with Liam's ex-girlfriend. The caption read, "Upgrading this Halloween." Taped beside it, handwritten words in black marker, "He deserves it." Detective Lewis felt her stomach turn. This wasn't random chaos. This was a chain reaction set off by humiliation and rage. And somehow, an 8-year-old got pulled into it. When she and her partner questioned Liam's mother, her voice trembled. They were close. Liam and his little brother, Noah, always together. But lately, he'd been different. Quiet, angry. "I thought it was just teenage stuff." As she spoke, young Noah sat silently at the kitchen table, legs dangling above the floor, his face pale, eyes vacant to calm for a child surrounded by police. When Detective Lewis crouched beside him, she noticed something that chilled her: faint black smudges along his right thumb, gunpowder residue. "Do you remember what happened last night, Noah?" she asked softly. The boy hesitated, eyes darting toward the stairs where his brother's room was. Then, barely above a whisper, "He told me to stay by the fire. He said if anyone hurt him, I should scare them. He said, it's just like a game." A heavy silence filled the room. The mother covered her mouth in shock. Back at headquarters, ballistics confirmed the nightmare. The round that killed the 17-year-old boy had indeed come from the pistol found in the bag, the same weapon whose grip bore partial prints matching Noah's tiny hand. But the purchase receipt, phone data, and witness statements painted a different picture, one where Liam had orchestrated everything. Messages recovered from Liam's phone revealed texts sent hours before the party. "They think they can clown me tonight. Not this time. If it gets bad, we'll scare them. I've got a plan." And one final message, unsent but saved in drafts: "Noah, just point it, and they'll stop laughing." The detectives were stunned. It wasn't just negligence, it was manipulation. A 16-year-old using his younger brother as a pawn. As the community grieved, rumors spread online: year-old killer, Halloween massacre kid, and countless TikToks dramatizing the tragedy. But the reality was even crueler. Noah had no idea what death really meant. In his interviews, he asked if the two sleeping teenagers would wake up soon. Meanwhile, Liam had vanished. His phone was powered off. Friends said he hadn't been seen since the party ended. Some thought he was hiding in a friend's basement. Others whispered he'd already crossed state lines. The police issued a statewide juvenile alert. 3 days later, a break came from an unlikely source. A gas station attendant on the outskirts of Salt Lake City reported a teenager matching Liam's description: same black hoodie, same nervous demeanor, buying energy drinks and asking directions to Colorado. Surveillance footage confirmed it. A multi-state alert went out. Utah police coordinated with Colorado authorities. Roadblocks set up along I-70, but Liam slipped through. Detective Lewis followed the trail of ATM withdrawals. Small and sporadic, $20 here, $15 there. He was traveling light, desperate, probably sleeping in bus stations or rest stops. Then came the message that froze everyone. A video uploaded to Liam's private Instagram account, captioned simply, "It wasn't supposed to happen." In the shaky clip, filmed inside what looked like an abandoned cabin, Liam spoke in a cracked voice. "They were making fun of me. I just wanted them to stop. I didn't mean for Noah to. I told him it was pretend. I thought he'd just scare them." Behind him, a glimpse of the same pistol resting on a table. Police traced the IP address: a rural area near Rifle, Colorado. Local deputies and federal agents converged within hours. When they reached the cabin, they found a small fire still burning, empty food wrappers, a backpack. But Liam was gone. Then, in the woods behind the cabin, officers found footprints, one set large, one small. It didn't make sense. Noah was supposed to be home under protective supervision. Yet, when officers checked the mother's house that morning, Noah's bed was empty, the window open. Somehow, the child had slipped away to follow his brother. Detective Lewis gripped her steering wheel as she raced toward the search zone, heart pounding. This was no longer a hunt for a fugitive, it was a race to save a child from becoming collateral damage twice. By sunset, the search teams located them. A camper spotted two figures walking along a dirt road near the Colorado border, the older leading, the younger trailing close behind, clutching something wrapped in a blanket. When officers moved in, Liam raised his hands. Noah froze. The wrapped bundle fell inside, the pistol rusted and unloaded. As police surrounded them, Liam whispered to his brother, "It's okay, buddy. No more games." Noah burst into tears. The brothers were taken into custody, Liam in handcuffs, Noah escorted by a child crisis officer. Reporters swarmed the scene. Helicopters hovered above. The story of the Halloween child shooter was now international news. But inside the interrogation room later that night, when Detective Lewis replayed Liam's video confession, she noticed something new: a sound in the background, faint but distinct. A voice, older, male, saying, "Do it, or you're both dead." Someone else had been in that cabin. And when police enhanced the audio, they realized the real mastermind behind this tragedy might not have been either brother. Darren was 27, unemployed, living off short-term rentals and throwing youth-friendly house parties for cash. Detectives had questioned him briefly after the shooting. He claimed he didn't know the boys well and had left early. He'd even appeared distraught on camera, crying about how his home turned into a crime scene. The media framed him as a tragic witness, the adult who watched teenage chaos spiral out of control. But the audio tore that illusion apart. In the enhanced recording, Darren's voice whispered, "You said you wanted revenge. Then prove it. Pull the trigger or I'll do it myself." Detective Mara Lewis felt her stomach twist. Everything suddenly made sense: the missing minutes in the timeline, the unknown adult prints on the gun bag, the strange inconsistencies in Darren's statement. She replayed the audio 10 times before calling the chief. Within hours, a tactical team surrounded Darren's rental property, the same one from the Halloween night massacre. When they broke in, the place was nearly empty. No furniture, no personal belongings, just burned remnants in the fireplace, half-melted phone parts, shredded documents, and something metallic, a bullet casing polished clean. On the wall, written in red spray paint, were the words, "They made me the monster." Darren Cole's background told the story of a man on the edge, multiple misdemeanor arrests, rumors of supplying alcohol to minors, and a long record of domestic disturbances that never stuck. But what truly caught the investigators' attention were his private messages recovered from a cloud backup, threats, taunts, and dozens of interactions with Liam. It started as mentorship, "You're like my little bro, got your back," then turned dark, "You let them walk over you again, and you'll always be nothing." Liam, desperate for approval, followed him like a shadow. Darren fed his anger, manipulated him, and when the Halloween party came around, when the boy who mocked Liam showed up, Darren lit the fuse. He gave Liam the gun that afternoon. He coached him on how to load it, and when Liam hesitated, Darren used Noah, the innocent 8-year-old, as leverage. "You want them to stop laughing? Then let your little bro help. He's fearless, right?" The night spiraled out of control. Darren's plan, a scare, a staged show of power, turned fatal. When the first shot rang out, Liam panicked and dropped the gun. Noah picked it up. Chaos erupted. 2 teenagers died, and Darren disappeared. Detective Lewis was running on caffeine and adrenaline when the first major break came, a hit on a credit card used at a motel near Grand Junction, Colorado. The name? A stolen ID. But the security camera didn't lie. It was Darren. He looked different now, shaved head, hoodie, black gloves. The hunt was back on. By dawn, Colorado State Patrol joined the manhunt. Helicopters swept the canyons. Roadblocks were set. Meanwhile, the media was relentless. Halloween party gunman groomed teens. Evil mentor on the run. Communities were enraged. Parents demanded accountability. How did an 8-year-old end up with a loaded weapon under adult supervision? Detective Lewis couldn't shake the guilt. "We interviewed him," she told her partner. "We let him walk. Then, a call came through the dispatch line that stopped her cold. A farmer from the outskirts of Mesa County reported a break in his truck stolen, his guard dog shot, and the words, 'Sorry, had to run,' scratched on his barn door." The trail was getting hotter. 2 days later, police finally cornered Darren in a remote canyon area near the Utah border. The stolen truck was found crashed against a boulder, smoke curling from the hood. Footprints led toward a drainage tunnel, one man limping, wounded. Inside that tunnel, surrounded by police floodlights, they found Darren slumped against the wall, gun in hand, bleeding from a self-inflicted wound. He was still breathing. Detective Lewis stepped forward, ignoring the shouts of the tactical team. "Why?" she demanded. He lifted his head weakly, his glassy. "Because no one listens until blood spills." She leaned closer. "You used a child," Darren smirked. "I made him braver than any of you." Then his hand twitched, one final move toward the gun. The officers fired a single shot. The echo hung in the tunnel for what felt like forever. The aftermath was a blur. Darren Cole died en route to the hospital. His death ended the manhunt, but not the nightmare. Liam faced multiple juvenile charges: involuntary manslaughter, weapon possession, and child endangerment. Noah, too young to comprehend it all, was placed under psychiatric care. The families of the 2 slain teenagers held vigils in the same neighborhood that had once echoed with laughter and fireworks. Detective Lewis stood among the candles and photos, haunted by the faces she couldn't save. The community wanted answers, justice, or maybe just something that made sense. But there was no sense in what happened, only layers of manipulation, fear, and loss. When she later reviewed the final evidence log, something caught her attention: a note found in Darren's backpack, scribbled in uneven handwriting. "He's not the only one. I taught others how to stand up too." Below it, a list of usernames, teen accounts, private chats, all connected to different cities. Her chest tightened. This wasn't an isolated event. Darren had been building something, a twisted online network of angry teens, feeding their resentment, convincing them violence made them powerful. Authorities quickly launched a cyber task force to track the remaining accounts. Several were traced to states as far as Oregon and Texas. The network went dark after Darren's death, but a few accounts stayed active, posting cryptic messages like, "The party isn't over." Detective Lewis closed the case file months later, but one thought never left her: evil doesn't always come with a mask. Sometimes, it wears a friendly face and calls itself family. The tragedy became a nationwide reckoning, renewed debates on juvenile gun access, mental health, and online radicalization. But for those who lived it, the horror wasn't political, it was personal. Liam eventually testified that his only goal that night was to make the laughter stop. "He told me nobody cared about us," he said on the stand. He said, "If you want to make them remember your name." And the world did. The Halloween massacre became one of the most disturbing juvenile crimes in recent history. 2 innocent teens dead, 1 child traumatized, and a manipulative man buried with his secrets. Detective Lewis ended her report with a single line that would echo through every newsroom, courtroom, and police academy. "When you hand a child a weapon, physical or emotional, you don't just destroy innocence, you destroy futures." If you thought this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video, because the next case will prove that sometimes the scariest monsters aren't hiding under the bed. They're standing right beside you.